Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is B.A.N.K, otherwise known as Black Auntie No Kids. I'm rich in perspective, but broke for the foolishness. So let's just jump into today's video. I don't want to bog you down with a long intro. So I don't know what I'm going to eventually title this video. I'm kind of working backwards here. The experts here on YouTube suggest that you come up with a title and a thumbnail before you start a video. That's just not the way my brain is wired. This video is going to be off the cuff. It's basically going to be a stream of conscious thought here. So stick with me and hopefully I make sense here, okay? So today I wanted to talk about none other than Olivia Johnson. You know, she thinks she's the star of these YouTube streets, particularly in the mommy sector, whether it's being a mommy channel or being a reactor commentator within the mommy sector. She is the motion. She is the juice that keeps our pockets full and keeps us running in circles trying to figure her out. And the reality is she's paper thin, as my girl MC Light has said. I know I'm dating myself, but she's paper thin. And if I want to quote people, I really want to bring up this quote. This is one of my favorite quotes, and it was by Mark Twain, the great Mark Twain. If you're familiar with him, he is an author of a Huckleberry Finn and some other works out there. But he was really, I don't know, I guess he was, to me, a bit of a philosopher. And one of his quotes is, "Never argue with an idiot. They'll drag you down to their level and beat you with their experience." And that's what's going on, in my opinion, with Olivia. So when I've done videos on her, particularly the recent videos, I kind of took an analytical stance. And I'm not saying that I'm any better than any of the reactors out here who are critiquing her material. I just don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the quick wit. I don't have the ability to sink down to her level and beat her or even joust with her. Again, this is no shade to the ones who get in there and do that. I highly enjoy your commentary and your content, and I'm actually pretty envious of how quick on your feet you are in putting her in her place and reading straight through her. Just a side note, I was going to do something in regards to her whole issue of being a tragic mulatto. Shout out to Marissa Star TV, who she didn't coin the phrase the tragic mulatto, but it is something that historically has been used to describe biracial individuals, particularly during the time of Reconstruction and in moving forward through the civil rights movement. So there's some context to that. Olivia has no reference point to that. She doesn't even know her black side at all. She really has no reference or no foothold in the black community. And that is the gist of why she goes on the attack. She does it for a couple of reasons. One, to deflect, and two, because she is constantly trying to kill off what she cannot attain. And I hate to say that because I think that's strong verbiage, but it's true. She can never beat us. So what she does is try to attack and minimize our existence. But a lot of us have been black all of our lives. We've socialized, we've maneuvered this world as black women. We understand the politics of being black in this world, and we understand when somebody is just messing with us. But nonetheless, it does get aggravating. It becomes a circular argument, and you're basically pissing in the wind. Okay, and I'm not saying don't engage her on these levels. I think there's a lot of people who are listening that become educated about it. Educated about it. There may be some young lady who possibly is part of the loyalty gang that is creeping in over to a reactors channel and watching the feedback and is getting a deeper understanding of what's going on. I do see pushback in Olivia's chat. The more she talks about this stupid ass shit, people that show up in her chat are pushing back on her because it's a ridiculous argument to be having. How are you going to be the big old age of, 35, going on 36? I don't know how old that heifer is. I know she's somewhere around that age. And you still don't have an understanding of who you are, even as a quote-unquote biracial woman. It's very sad. But I'm kind of getting off topic, because what I really want to talk about, like I said, I don't like to get down in the mud with her, because there are people who are better equipped. You guys, again, I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong. Please don't think that I'm saying that. I just want to point out that sometimes it's a losing argument on the face of the fact that you are way too intelligent to be engaged in this woman in such a discussion. The knowledge and the information that you are handing over to her, or you're trying to get through her thick skull, is going to be met with crickets, okay? There's nothing flying around in that head but butterflies, okay? The neurons are not firing. They're not connecting. It's a lost cause there, and I truly believe that, and I will not back down from that. But like I said before, keep it up, because like I said, I enjoy watching some of you guys' replays. Sometimes I'm watching in real time in the bushes, and I love the perspective that you bring, young and old. My peers that are of Gen X see through it really, like I said, it's paper thin. And some of you ladies who are her peers, her age, maybe even younger, you can read her like nobody's business. And so I applaud the effort. And I also think you guys give a space for people to vent, because it is triggering to some people. It is very triggering. And for me, it's entertainment, because like I said before, nothing that she says has any foundation. She doesn't add any value, unfortunately. The only value that Liv provides to the larger community is the fact that she produced, 5 going on 6 kids. And that's a biological thing that a lot of women can do. And I'm not even going to get into her bias against women who don't have kids or struggle to have kids, who cannot have kids. But Liv is really a waste of space and time and energy at the end of the day. But I also get the frustration, because I experience that. Now, just because I don't engage in that manner doesn't mean that I don't get frustrated. I don't too much get triggered by her. I'm so far away from having an identity crisis about who I am as a black woman that I just kind of roll my eyes like, this child has no idea what she's talking about. She sounds like a fucking idiot. Because she does. So, one of the things that has come out of her most recent shenanigans, and this is something that is, I don't know, I don't want to say that it's picking up steam. I think there was always a segment of the audience that felt that she needed to be deplatformed. And I'm one of them. I felt like, she has there should be no way that this lady should be allowed to come on YouTube and make money. But the reality is that trying to deplatform someone is probably one of the hardest things that you can do. And the reason being is because she skirts the line. I looked at YouTube's community guidelines. I looked at their rules of engagement on this app that keeps you monetized. And Olivia, she's what I call a habitual line stepper. She knows how far she can go. She's tested this out. The girl has been on here, 6-7 years? And from the word go, she's been towing that line and never ever had to suffer any consequences. I think the closest that it's come recently is with the video when she was really being nasty towards Joey's younger daughter. I think that's the closest that we have seen. Now, I'm going to preface this with things that I'm just going to disclose that I don't know this to be a fact, but this is something that my spidey senses tells me is what's going on with her channel. We all know that she has been court ordered to pay child support, which she refuses to do. That's a documented factual thing. She just got out of jail for that. And one of the things that has been in debate is to whether or not the channel is in her name. I know there have been people who have said that, oh, it is in her name, and the reason why it's not being garnished is because it's considered self-employment. That's not true. That is something that the state of Texas could definitely go after her earnings on YouTube. Just because she's an independent contractor, that doesn't mean anything. She has to file taxes. You know, they can at least go after the taxes once those are filed, at the very least. So a lot of us suspect that she's moved the name over, her channel over into Stella's name. I believe that's the case, either Stella or her grandmother's name. But I don't believe the channel is in her name. And another reason why I believe that, I do believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong. DC, if you happen to be listening to this, you can correct me. But I do believe during the height of their beef, and when Niecy was very active here on YouTube, she basically said that Olivia moved the channel out of her name. She kind of was cryptic about it because Niecy was working on getting back into the good graces of Gerard. They were repairing their relationship, so she didn't want to say too much. But that's what I suspect. So there's that. You know, trying to deplatform her. Number one, the channel is not in. I don't think the channel is in her name. But two, she has built up this loyalty gang. Okay, she has a group of people who, quote unquote, support her. I believe a lot of them. I think it's like a 50-50, maybe a little. Maybe it could be 40-60. I don't know, but I think there's two segments. Her audience is made up of two segments, and that is her true supporters, true believers, and her glass trolls. And that's commonly called the LOL cow community. Shout out to Steve for bringing that to my attention. I heard that term, but I never really looked into it to see what that was all about or what it meant. So it was very enlightening. In the LOL cow, they kind of egg the clown on. They basically keep the circus going, and they'll do whatever it takes. They will act like they're her biggest supporters. They'll even cash app her, super chat her. They will rage against her so-called haters, the reactors, anyone asking a legitimate question. They'll come down hard on those people just as much as the true believers. So she gets her dopamine by coming on here and getting that adoration and even the hate. Those are fuels. Those are the things that fuel her, that keeps her going, and it keeps her motivated. She can't really attack the real cause, and to me that's her own brain. She can't run away from those voices that are, echoing around in that empty head of hers. So she can't combat them. She has to feel that silence, or she has to drown out those voices by coming on here and gaslighting the people. But also, and this is the big thing, it's not even just about feeding her ego and getting back at us, the haters, the commentary community, and the uglies, because we are the uglies. We're not as beautiful as she is. And we're not as dumb as she is. That is the key to me to kind of hold on to. So she has to come on here because this is what pays her bills. Make no mistake about it. Even though this channel may not be in her name, Stella is funneling that money to her, and that's a whole other bag of tricks that she needs to be wary of, but we know she's not, because again, she's dumb. She's an idiot, okay? And also, who really is invested in who should really be invested in taking her down that way? In my opinion, that's something that I personally think Gerard and Nisha should be pursuing. Me as a general public, that's really getting down in the weeds. To me, that's something going after her in regards to possible tax evasion, money funneling. I don't think it's laundering. There is probably a tax code or a financial lingo that would describe what she and Stella are doing, which is honestly it's very serious. There could be some serious consequences surrounding that. But I think that end of it is something that Gerard and Nisha should be looking into, and I don't know for sure if that's something that's in the works or not, or something that the court or the Attorney General Office of Texas is aware of. Again, there's a lot of things that we don't know because we just don't have access to the legal documents. But what we do have access to is Olivia's body of work here that she puts out on a daily basis. She basically gets up whenever her body wakes up, and usually that's around noontime. She goes and she reads the blogs, particularly probably LSA, and then she goes and looks at all the reactions and see what is being said, and then she comes up with her content. And usually it's a deflection. So even that whole mess of a video where she's talking about her tragic mulatto state, it's really just a way to distract from, I believe, the Black Carrie Bradshaw's video, that My Shabby Life video, which Olivia called herself watching, but she really couldn't. Who really likes to look in the mirror, especially when the picture is not that pretty? She did a lot of deflecting, acting like it was just fluff and it wasn't good enough, but she could barely look at the screen. She had it facing the camera for her audience to try to mock what was presented, and what was presented was it was sad. It was sad, and I seen most, if not all, of the clips that were included in real time as they unfolded. And again, that kind of just burns people. And the point of the whole video was to stay on her neck. And that is where I think a lot of people get frustrated. It almost feels like we are a participant to her circus, that we we're not enraged enough. We're not mad enough. And there's really no reason for her to still be around once you look at, the evidence of her behaviors. That's what my whole video was about, kind of deconstructing how did we get here, or how did she get to be where she's at, and the dynamic of her being a devouring mother. It's a very sobering picture, and it's very sad. It's very telling. But I did that for you guys. And a shout out to everyone who watched the video, who left a comment, who gave it a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. I do this for you. I like the feedback. I like knowing that you get where I'm coming from. But enough of that. So I've talked almost 20 minutes. Hopefully you're still here. So I want to talk about, I guess the question is, do you want to do you think the better approach is to deplatform Olivia, or is the better approach to demonetize Olivia? Tell me what you think. You can pause the video right now, drop down in the comments, or you can wait till the end of the video. My argument would be to demonetize her. And when I say that, again, I know I've just said that the channel is not in her name, but Stella, her mother, is her proxy. So it's the same difference. Whether I say, demonetize Stella's channel or Liv's channel, it is Liv's channel, let's be honest. And the reason why I say that, I feel like that is the better strategy, is because, yes, this feeds Olivia's ego. Her turning on the camera and going, hitting the live button, it definitely gives her a shot of dopamine. It definitely fills the empty spaces in her head and in her heart. That's no doubt. But the bigger thing is that it pays her bills, because we know she's not working. She's not getting child support for any of the kids that are in her possession. So how else is she funding this lifestyle? Nobody believes in this fantasy of the generational wealth that she likes to quote unquote throw in our face. It's a joke at this point. It's a punchline. The reason why Liv can live the way she does, even if it's low level, impoverished living, is because she gets a YouTube AdSense check. And like I said, I kind of looked at the guidelines, basically the monetization community standard guidelines, and she is towing the line. Even with her walking around in her underwear, YouTube does not have a problem with that. They see it as, oh, well, maybe she's doing a video, a get ready with me, or she's showing how it's not to be, sexualized. It's not to be lascivious. It's not anything that violates the community's guidelines, even as far as it being 18 restricted. So she knows she's done this over and over and over and over again. The cursing, she's done that over and over and over again. The race baiting, she's done that over and over again. The mistreatment of her kids on the camera, she's done that over and over again. And people have timestamped, they reported it to YouTube. Some people have been admonished by YouTube saying that they are basically spamming the complaints and telling them that they'll be in trouble if they keep complaining. So that it creates a level of frustration where people give up. So even though there is an outcry and there is a call to deplatform her, there have been people working behind the scenes trying to do this for years. And they've been basically running up against a brick wall. Because at the end of the day, YouTube is a business. The more videos that they can put ads on, the more revenue they can generate. Yeah, the amount of money that Liv brings into their revenue ledger is minuscule compared to some of the heavy hitters out there like Mr. Beast and things like that. But it's like, remember there was a time where Walmart was mispricing items. In other words, they were adding pennies onto the price. So say, for example, if the price was supposed to be $9.97, they were charging $9.98 or 99 cents. In other words, they were overcharging by a penny. But when you're going through millions of transactions a day, those pennies add up. So even though Liv is not going to, whether she's monetized or not, it's not going to make or break YouTube, it goes into that positive ledger. YouTube is not losing any money monetizing Liv at all. And her channel is that insignificant. It's not like it's going to be on the national news unless, unfortunately, something bad happens to one of her children. Okay? That's the guy's honest truth. YouTube is not going to really pay us a lot of attention. And I hate to say that, and I hate to sound like that we have no recourse, or anybody who's interested in taking her down has no recourse. I know that I was in I think it was Carrie Bradshaw's chat, and somebody said, is it okay that if I send the link to your video to the Dad podcast? And I am familiar with him. I remember going way back. I think it was during the 8 passenger thing. It might even been another family channel issue, because there has been some family channels here on YouTube that's had some very tragic outcomes, and there have been an army of critics in that sector of, I guess you want to call it the white family channel sector of YouTube, that were heavily advocating against these channels. And I think they are on some level successful enough to get them removed. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I understand their motivation, and I understand the reason why they said that, because you're talking about a white man who may or may not have a little bit more clout than us lowly black women. But that's why I love our sector of reactors and commentators, because we are, voicing our opinions. We are making it known that we're not just sitting back and accepting this crap that Olivia puts out, that we are documenting in real time that there was pushback. But do we really have to look for him to be our savior? Yes, he has a bigger platform, and I get why they wanted to include him in that. But if you go over on his channel Again, Olivia is a small fish in a pond when it comes down to it, and this audience is already engaged in who they want to do battle with, and even though Olivia sees herself as a white woman, that community over there, that sector over there, does not see her as a white woman. Unfortunately, she's a ratchet, and I'm not even going to put a race on it. She's an insignificant ratchet. That's who she is. And even the channels that they are interested in or invested in taking down, they are more interested in they are more interested than Olivia. Okay. Now we do know that there's Anton. What is Anton's last name? I don't know why it's slipping me right now. Anton Daniels. We know that he did a reaction to her so-called homeless stint, but he's in it for clicks and views. I'm just going to call it. And he's a part of the manosphere, which I would love to really get a hold of Liv in a meaningful way and give her a little bit of that treatment. But again, there's bigger fish out here to fry. So we have to fry this tuna ourselves. And to me, going back to the strategy, deplatforming her versus demonetizing her. So you say, well, okay, you just said that YouTube is not interested in demonetizing her. She's a habitual line stepper and they've done nothing for years. That is absolutely true. But guess what? There is a way. It just requires a little bit more work and a little bit more patience and time and a little bit more dedication. And it really comes down to how passionate you feel about this. This is just my gut telling me this, that it's not going to be something as simple as, making it known that she's a horrible mom. My video itself is not going to have that much of an impact, if none actually, on whether or not she stays monetized or she stays platformed. YouTube doesn't care. They've made that very clear. They don't care. They don't. But guess who does? Okay, their perspective is completely different than YouTube's. Okay, and that is the advertisers. YouTube works, AdSense works in a pool. In other words, these advertisers basically send dollars to YouTube. Not YouTube, AdSense, Google AdSense. They bid on time or space across the Google product line, whether it's YouTube, a vlog, or a website. Wherever someone has implemented AdSense, they're basically targeting, they're bidding on space. They're buying ad space. And that is a crucial thing that you have to understand, is that YouTube, as long as nobody is calling them out on it, they're going to let it play out. But I don't really watch Olivia. I don't get to see her ads. I know some people get premium. I do something a little different. We don't have to talk about that, but let's just put it this way. I'm not interested in watching her ads or giving her ad revenue. And a lot of us watch her through through reactors, so we don't watch the ads as they pop up. But really, let's just say, for example, I watch one of her videos that's monetized and an ad pops up, and that ad is for, let's say, we can go for a fairly decent sized brand. Let's say it's for like Swiffer Sweeper or something like that. It doesn't really matter. An S.C. Johnson product, or maybe it's for a medication or whatever. Let's not even worry about who the advertiser is. The fact is that advertiser does not know that their ad is showing up on Olivia's video. They know nothing about that. They don't care. They just want either the exposure or the sale. But if people start clocking in real time who these advertisers are, whose ads are showing up on her videos, they're able to maybe get a screen recording of these particular advertisers, and then you transpose that with that behavior that's being shown. Her yelling at AJ, her screaming at Kailani, her cursing out black women, her cursing out her subbies, her over sexualized behavior and demeanor, her talking about getting her back blown out by unknown random men, those things that are not in line with the values of that particular advertiser. So it's a process. So you'd have to show how their brand has been associated with Olivia. You have to actually show that it's in the video. You have to show her behavior, and then more importantly, you have to reach out to the decision makers. Now, I'm not talking about just a general form where you fill out hey, Houston, we have a problem, that goes into this black hole, this pit that never is really addressed. And if it is, it's probably by AI software, and it goes nowhere. Now you have to shine a light on it. You have to reach out to the ad executives. You can find these people. They are usually active on Twitter or LinkedIn. They actually have job titles and descriptions. They are a part of the advertising team. They do the ad buys. They understand the marketing philosophy and matrix. And if you can expose them or you can, I wouldn't say expose them, or you can expose them to the fact this is where your dollars are being spent, they're going to eventually say, no, I don't want that. So they can technically block out her channel ID. They can go to YouTube and start saying, hey, I don't want my ads showing on this particular content creator's channel. And as that momentum grows, as more and more of these advertisers start seeing or hearing about this, that is the path they're going to take. I can't remember, it's been many years ago, but I do believe that there was a campaign that was ran in that manner. And YouTube's response was to kind of clean house and kind of clean up how they dispense their ad revenue buys by these companies and corporations. Heck, even if I had a product that I wanted to advertise on YouTube, I can explicitly say that I don't want my ad being shown on Liv's channel, and that is the fallout. So to me, if we start taking away her ability to earn money here on YouTube, because she's lying and saying that she's not monetized, super chats are on, memberships on, she's getting the AdSense revenue, that's clearly on. But if that green dollar sign turns to yellow or turns to red, she's not going to make any money. Yellow is limited. You might as well not even monetize the video. Red is you're dead in the water. So, in my opinion, the approach should be to run off the advertisers that pop up on her vlogs and her lives. Okay? Run them off. And what can she do about that? She can't do anything about that. Because if I'm a brand, let's just say Procter & Gamble for some reason ends up on has an ad on one of her videos. She's going to have a baby. Maybe she does a vlog about getting her nursery together, and they think it's a good fit to have I believe one of their products is Pampers. I should know that. They're in my city. But anyway, I digress. They're going to pull that. They're going to go to Google and say, hey, blacklist this channel ID. And as the pressure mounts, eventually, she's not going to get quality ads. Her CPM might drop to almost nil. And I am giving this information out, and I would normally, and I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm not saying that this will absolutely work, because it takes a level of coordination. And it takes a level of dedication, and one person alone can't do it. This is something that I think has to be set up as a task, that if it has to be a group effort, a community effort. In other words, I think like a spreadsheet would have to be created to document the advertisers, her bad acts, timestamp those bad acts in conjunction with that, and contact information for the companies that need to hear this. And then once you get that contact information, everybody on one accord do their thing. Hop on the Twitters, get on the LinkedIns, get on the TikToks, Instagram, wherever social media platform that is the best way to get the message across, and do a full court press on her. And it has to be sustained, and it has to be meaningful, and to me it has to have a clear directive. And so you may say, well, you're saying all this, why don't you do this? Well, like I said, it's something that I personally think that it's too much for one person. It's a lot easier for me to make this video or the video before than to try to do that on my own. But I will put my hat in the ring. I don't have any problem. I love doing or figuring out ways to get shit done. Especially an easier way to get shit done. And if it's just so much as to creating a spreadsheet, or, my part, I wouldn't mind even, documenting what I see, what I think, things that I find problematic, finding contact information for companies and corporations. Because like I said, YouTube is not even, to me, YouTube might as well be an amoeba. It's AI. It's not like you can actually reach out to someone. You will pull your hair out trying to get someone at YouTube to listen to you. But YouTube will listen to the advertiser. Google AdSense will listen definitely to the advertiser. They don't want a reputation of, aligning brands with problematic content creators. They don't want to do that. They're not going to argue. If an ad executive reaches out to whoever manages their account over at AdSense and says, hey, we've been getting some emails, or we've been looking at some tweets that have been coming out about this particular content creator, and could you blacklist that channel ID? They probably already have a system in place for that. Okay? So I'm not saying that it will work. It is a definite possibility. But to me, the way to really effectively deplatform Olivia is to take away her monetization. Because what is she going to do? She claims that she's not making money here. So what would be the next step? What she'll do is probably she can run a TikTok. Guess what? They do kind of the same thing. Where else is she going to run it? The Instagram? Facebook does the same thing through Facebook ads. She's going to come up against a brick wall if the system is put in place and the engine is running smoothly. Now you'll say, okay, well then she can just ask for cash apps. That's what she do all the time anyway. That is true. That is true. But honestly, it's still, I don't think that that's sustainable for her. I don't think, yes, she does get the cash apps, but I think she makes most of her revenue through AdSense. She just pushes the go live button and she makes X amount of dollars per video, and those cash apps just kind of feed her hunger, literally. It feeds her food addiction and her TikTok shop addiction. But the way the bills are actually getting paid around there is through AdSense. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. Yeah, I don't know what more I can say about that. I just wanted to kind of get this out. I'm sorry if this video seems all over the place and not as exciting or as interesting as, a lot of the content that comes out about Olivia. But I think I'm just trying to kind of throw the thought out there. Let's think this through. If we really want to effectively silence her, I always was told to follow the money or hit them in the pocketbook. She can come on here and spew as much hatred as she wants, and she claims that she does this of free will because she's not making any money. Let's make her prove it. Let's start making that AdSense check disappear. And again, what can she do? I don't think the channel is in her name. How much is Stella willing to fight? How can you fight that anyway? What advertisers is she going to go to and run her case to them and say, You know, they're just a bunch of uglies. They just don't like me. They're my haters. They wish they can be me. They're just jealous. I don't think that would sell in an advertising strategy meeting. I don't think they'll put her on Zoom and let her run her case to them. On the flip side, you may say, oh, well, Loyalty Gang may step in and fight for her. They're not. Listen, they're really not that interested in doing anything of the sort. I personally think they are her biggest trolls, even though the true believers are the true believers. And I talked about the LOL cows, and I will say this on record. I believe Jen is the biggest LOL cow. I think Jen pays to have access to manipulate Olivia, and she doesn't see it, because I don't see in any world where someone, even with a good heart, can be a mandated reporter and allow the behaviors that goes on inside that house to just go on and not do anything or say anything about it. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you made it this far, please give me a like, and if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'm probably going to move on from Olivia from here. The conversations that, if anybody wants to have further conversations about this with me, you can head over to my IG. My IG is Black Auntie No Kids. Just send me a friend request. That way I can see your DM. But I just believe in thinking strategically, thinking logically, and really get into the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter is that if Olivia can't make money here on YouTube, Olivia is not going to waste her time here on YouTube. She's just not. There's no money in it. And, you know, like I said, to me, I think people have reached critical mass with her. I think people are truly fed up with her. I think people are really not even no longer entertained by the train wreck. To me, it just becomes, it's almost like, I don't know, it's like watching a horror movie over and over again to the point where you get desensitized to it and you're just tired of it. You want something different. And for those of us who do reactions on her and you make a bit of coin on her, whether it's to pay an extra bill, whether it's to fund your hobbies, keep on doing it. As long as she's going to clown, I would never tell anybody to stop reacting on her, because I clearly am doing a form of reaction commentary on her, and I'm putting this up on my monetized channel because if I have to address her or discuss her on any level, I don't care if I only make $5 off the video. I'm not going to do it for free. So with that being said, I'm going to end this video. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you the next time I upload. Until I do, have a great day. Bye now.